Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our live coverage of Starlink 9-3 mission from Vandenberg Space Force Base, Space Launch Complex 4 East from the West Coast. We hope you all are doing fine. Right now, we are waiting for a Falcon 9 liftoff at 10:35 p.m. Eastern Time from California for a southeasterly launch for SpaceX Starlink mission. The Starlink mission 9-3 will launch 20 Starlink satellites, including 13 with direct-to-cell capabilities satellites to low Earth orbit. Today's Starlink mission marks SpaceX's amazing 365th overall launch. Hello, my name is Dipta Maitra, performing the commentary for today's mission launch. We are super excited bringing you the coverage of SpaceX 72nd overall launch and the 69th Falcon 9 launch of this year. This will be the 49th dedicated Starlink mission of the year for SpaceX. Prior to today's launch, SpaceX has launched 1,068 Starlink satellites so far, over 48 flights this year, and overall 6,718 Starlink satellites to date. Now, before getting into the mission details, just some quick updates. On Friday, July 12th, NASA is targeting the release of the Northrop Grumman Cygnus NG-20 cargo spacecraft from the International Space Station, with the release scheduled at 7 a.m. Eastern Daytime. And the much anticipated US ISS Spacewalk 90 with NASA astronaut Tracy Dyson and Mike Barrett on June 24th, which lasted 31 minutes following a water leak in the service and the cooling umbilical unit on Dyson's spacesuit, has no further schedule provided by NASA yet. Additionally, US Spacewalk 91 is also delayed and now scheduled for for July 29th, with the exact timing yet to be confirmed by NASA. We are keeping a keen eye on any updates and will let you know as soon as possible. Also, we will be streaming the event, so don't forget to tune in. Just a note, it's me only managing the launch coverages on my own, so if we face any technical issues, please bear with me. I will do my best to guide you through the Falcon 9 rocket launch happening in some minutes away. Now let's get back to today's mission. So far, SpaceX reports that the weather is looking good for today's Falcon 9 launch opportunity and the range is ready to support. We hope that they are able to launch on time and not have to push too far, but if for some reason we don't launch today, we do have a backup opportunity tomorrow, that is Friday, July 12th, with launch window opening at 6:13 p.m. Eastern Time. SpaceX is currently targeting a liftoff time of the Falcon 9 from Vandenberg Space Force Base at 10:35 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:35 p.m. Pacific Time, both on Thursday, that is July 11th, which corresponds to 2:35 a.m. UTC on Friday, that is July 12th. Firstly, we would like to thank all of you for joining us for today's launch. We express our heartfelt gratitude to everyone for being a part of today's stream. Really appreciate you all being here. Big thanks to our amazing YouTube community for being here today, supporting us as we provide detailed coverage of space launches, complete with extensive statistics and thorough insights. Also, we would welcome Pop Tripika No, actually, we were prepared for Ariane 6 launch, but in the last moment, we were having some weather constraints here. So, for that, I couldn't make it through to have that stream to get live. Although I was prepared with everything, but I couldn't because it was here the very bad weather with heavy lightning, so I couldn't take the risk to have my PC to turn on and to stream the event, because this is the only hope I am having right now with me. If this PC will be getting bad, so it will cause a havoc. So didn't took any chances, and I'm sorry for that. So right now let's move on to today's mission. Let's talk about today's payload details for Starlink Group 9-3 mission. This launch marks the 49th dedicated Starlink launch for this year. A quick fun fact: initially, the two identical Starlink test satellites, Microsat 2A and Microsat 2B, were launched on February 22nd, 2018. Once deployed into orbit, they were renamed Tintin A and Tintin B. Therefore, Tintin A and Tintin B are the first Starlink satellites to be launched. Starlink satellites are built at SpaceX Satellite Development Facility in Redmond, Washington. And today's launch consists of 20 version 2 mini satellites, including 13 with direct-to-cell capabilities. The version 2 variant of Starlink is large enough to fit inside a Falcon 9 fairing and is meant to be launched by Starship. To address the issue, SpaceX modified the original version 2 blueprint into a smaller, more compact one named version 2 Mini. SpaceX also indicated they would build satellites of the second generation constellation in two different but technically identical form factors, one with physical structures tailored to launch on Falcon 9, that is version 2 Mini, and another tailored for the launch on Starships, that is version 2. Each Starlink satellite is equipped with powerful 5 advanced Ku band phased array antennas and 3 dual band parabolic antennas utilizing Ka and E band to provide increased capacity. Together, these antennas utilizes Ku, Ka and E band frequencies, allowing Starlink to provide high bandwidth connectivity, that is 4 times more capacity per satellite than earlier version. Each satellite features a dual solar array with a size of 52.5 square meters, that is 565 square feet, which unfurls to a wingspan of 100 feet. Also, it has a high capacity battery to provide power to the payloads, and the two solar arrays are also aeroneutral, which enables fast on-orbit maneuvers. Each Starlink satellite contains 3 space laser transponders, that is optical intersatellite links or ISLs, for intercommunications operating at up to 200 Gbps, which together across the constellation forms a global internet mesh that can connect customers anywhere in the world. Also, this enables the spacecraft to transmit data without local ground stations, providing truly global coverage. Each Starlink version 2 mini satellite weighs nearly 800 kilograms, that is 1763 pounds. Starlink satellites are equipped with efficient ion Hall effect thrusters powered by argon, enabling them to raise, orbit, maneuver in space, and deorbit at the end of their useful life. Starlink was the first spacecraft to use krypton propulsion, but later switched to argon Hall effect thrusters for cost effectiveness. With this switch, Starlink became the first spacecraft to propel using the argon propulsion in space. But this raises the question of how much the switch affects the cost. Relative to krypton, the argon required to fuel Starlink version 2 satellite is practically free. To put it into perspective, fueling the next constellation of nearly 30,000 version 2 satellites could cost SpaceX less than fueling 4,000 version 1 satellites, which used krypton. Additionally, SpaceX claims that its second generation thrusters using argon has 2.4 times the thrust and 1.5 times the specific impulse of the previously krypton fueled thrusters. Today's payload will be placed in an orbit with an altitude of 296 kilometers and an inclination of 53.16 degrees. But this configuration does not apply to every Starlink satellites. Starlink satellites are placed in different configurations based on their group. Starlink uses custom-built navigation sensors named Star Tracker that surveys the star to determine each satellite's location, altitude, and orientation for best possible broadband throughput. Each Starlink satellite contains 4 reaction wheels, providing agile attitude control for the vehicle. The hot spare configuration ensures high reliability operation, and its aluminum flywheel is fully demisable at the end of life. Also worth mentioning, the Starlink satellites are equipped with an onboard autonomous collision avoidance system for avoiding collisions with other spacecrafts and space junks autonomously, which utilizes the US Department of Defense debris tracking database. Now, speaking of SpaceX direct-to-cell Starlink satellites, direct-to-cell is a technology developed by Starlink team. In easy words, it is like having a cell phone tower in space. This technology allows your cell phone to connect directly to satellites. Now imagine you are in a remote area where there is no cell tower nearby. Normally you won't get any signal on your phone. But with direct to cell, your phone can get a signal directly from a Starlink satellite overhead. You don't need to make any changes to your existing LTE phones or download any special apps. It is designed to work with the common LTE standards. Whether you are on land, lakes, coastal waters, or even in the air, as long as you can see the sky, you can get a signal. It provides connectivity in remote regions, giving you peace of mind when you need it the most. Now, recently, Starlink achieved its first video call on X using Starlink direct to cell satellites from unmodified mobile phones. Previously, we saw textual communication using Starlink direct to cell satellites. Now, Starlink anticipates going live with T-Mobile later this year. With the recent inclusion of Sierra Leone and Madagascar, let's take a look at the countries where Starlink low latency, high speed internet is now available. And as of the current status, Starlink is delivering its high speed, low latency internet service to 101 countries and territories. Now, would like to refer the chat we are having. Simon, I'm not getting you again. Tell me clearly, no, that wait, not reply. I'm not understanding that. Can you elaborate a little bit? And really, we missed you so much, Simon. From long you didn't showed up. And lastly, for this Ariane one, I was extremely sad that we couldn't make the live. Also, I was thinking that you were the one who was asking for this Ariane from long. So I was missing you seriously. And Pop Tripika, thanks for understanding. As I said you that day only that in the Turksat live that I was extremely excited and was anxious, like I was restless getting to talk about those details for the Ariane 6, but unfortunately I couldn't make it. I kept the live until like 3 hours before the live was there, that I was hoping that maybe the weather will be getting good and I will be making the live, but I couldn't in the end. And you did saw those Starlink satellites in the sky, that you what that's what you are meaning? You saw 8 and 9 in the sky by that? And the previous what you wrote, I'm not getting that. Can you please tell me once again that does of course I still love you have the landing audio, this one? Meanwhile, let's move forward. And also would like to refer every one of you who is there on the live today with us, that if you are feeling we are adding value to your viewing experience, please consider giving this video a like and also consider subscribing to us as we strive hard to bring streams filled with stats and details, and we would be super grateful for your such support. Now let's go through a quick comparison of latency between Starlink and geostationary satellites. Recently, we had an update that Starlink achieved a new internal median latency record of 28 milliseconds. Also, now they have the goal of median latency for Starlink internet in US to get below 20 milliseconds. You know, the internet that comes from satellites, most of them it's from a single satellite that's orbiting about 35,786 kilometers from Earth. Because it is so far away, the time it takes for the data to go back and forth, what we call latency, is pretty high. This makes it tough to do things like streaming movies, playing online games, making video calls, or real time data exchange. Now, if we look into the Starlink satellite, it gives a big it is like a big team of thousands of satellites that are much closer to us, just about 550 kilometers from Earth. In case of geostationary satellite, it is 35,786 kilometers from Earth. So you can point out the difference between the altitude of the both the satellites, the geostationary and the Starlink satellites. So as the Starlink satellites are all over the place covering the whole globe, and as they are closer, the latency is way lower. To put it into perspective, think of 25 milliseconds of latency compared to 600 and plus milliseconds of latency. You can see on your screen what is the number of round trips in case of Starlink satellites compared to a geostationary satellite, which is a huge difference. So in simple terms, Starlink's lower orbit makes it a game changer for satellite internet, and this could mean smoother video calls, lag-free online gaming, and other activities that requires a lot of data and where the real-time data exchange is a priority. Now moving on, let's learn a little bit about Starlink's collision avoidance system. It's quite fascinating to know how, despite having so many satellites around the Earth, they manage to stay safe and avoid collisions. SpaceX designs the Starlink satellites orbit raising and orbit lowering reference trajectories with a time optimal path planning algorithm. The algorithm includes additional constraints to ensure that the Starlink satellite always remain at large and safe distance from space stations, other spacecrafts, space junks, and from other Starlink satellites under nominal circumstances. As an additional safety measure, Starlink's screening system constantly monitors the satellite's planned referent trajectories against space stations, other spacecrafts, and other Starlink satellites as well. The system alerts the Starlink operators immediately when a potential conjunction is detected, and reference trajectories are replanned to change the geometry of the encounter and avoid the conjunction whenever possible. Each Starlink launch typically includes enough satellites to fill several orbital planes, and for this reason only, a train of satellite is usually divided into smaller trains that depart from the parking orbit on different dates to target specific orbital planes, which is also a part of pre-planned conjunction avoidance. Pop Tripika, I must say you are lucky you saw the recent launch, the last Starlink launch satellites in the rear. That's also in the sky. I'm happy for you, really. Here over India, we can see that, but actually you could see that for that I'm really happy. And at 4 a.m. you woke up or you didn't sleep? Are you an early bird or something? Because I'm not. Although you can say I'm an owl who doesn't sleeps. Our that moderator Vlad, he always says that not everyone. He always mocks me that not everyone is like you, that who doesn't need sleep. But still, I'm not getting you, Pop Tripika, that although you saw the 8-9 group Starlink one in the sky, but what about this last one? That I'm wondering if the drone ship has audio. I'm not I'm not understanding what is the relation between watching the Starlink in the sky with the drone ship. Maybe I'm a little down, getting, what can I say, dumb kind of not sleeping. Oh, so you were with your friends. That's cool. But anyway, for that incident only you could see it, as you'd have been sleeping that time. Have more campfires. Maybe you will be watching all those Starlinks. So now let's take a look at the flight record for the booster supporting today's Starlink 9-3 mission. The booster with tail number 1063 supporting today's mission is quite a mature booster with 18 previous flights in its record, including missions like Sentinel-6, Michael Flerich, also known as Sentinel-6A, which is a radar altimeter satellite developed in partnership with several European and American organizations. Next up, the DART mission, which stands for Double Asteroid Redirection Test, for NASA, a space mission aimed at testing a method of planetary defense against near Earth objects with target asteroid Dimorpheus. I think Dimorphos. Yes, Dimorphos. Next up, the Transporter 7 SpaceX rideshare mission launching 51 satellites for different customers. Iridium OneWeb launching 21 total satellites for both Iridium and Eutelsat OneWeb. This launch was for 5 spacecrafts for Iridium Communications, which is a publicly traded American company providing worldwide voice and data satellite communications, and 16 spacecraft of Eutelsat OneWeb, which is a subsidiary of Eutelsat Group providing broadband satellite internet services in low Earth orbit as customers. Then this next supporting mission by today's booster was SDA-0B for Space Development Agency, a United States Space Force direct reporting unit. Also, the booster previously supported 13 Starlink missions. The last mission supported by today's booster was Starlink Group 8-7 from here at Vandenberg on 14th of May this year. Previously, with Starlink Group 10-3 launch on June 27th from Cape Canaveral, SpaceX once again achieved a record. For the first time, a Falcon booster 10 with tail number 1062 launched for record-breaking 22nd time. Also, it is quite interesting that the same booster previously set a record with its 21st flight for SpaceX. But Patrika, drone ships have audio means what? I'm not getting. Really, I'm saying I'm not getting that. While a booster is landing on the drone ship, of course, it will be having the sound of a landing or the vibration and everything. But actually, during the webcast, we don't hear that. Most probably, like the way it is happening there. But oh well, I'm also not sure about that. That whether this, of course, I still love you will be having any kind of audio input for the drone ship booster landing. I'm not about knowing about that. And also, Baptrika, about now you ask these questions, and I'm again sorry that for this bad weather is going on, I really didn't got time, and actually I got involved in some household things because other times I'm not getting time to do things, and I couldn't research about those that question which you asked last time about the fuel proportion of the RP1 and the locks in both the first and second stage. So please give me one more day and I will be done with that and I will let you know. Okay, so please bear with me for this time. So now let's take a look at the bar graphs. Before today's launch, SpaceX completed 68 launches of Falcon 9 so far this year as part of its milestone. With recent Turksat 6A mission, Turkey's first fully domestically produced communication satellite launched from Space Launch Complex 40, Cape Canaveral Space Force Station on July 8th. SpaceX achieved a significant milestone this year with its 50th launch accomplished with the Starlink 8-7 mission. This number represents just two launches more than the half of last year's total Falcon 9 launches, which amounted to 48 launches. Now, with the recent launch of Turksat 6A mission, SpaceX has now conducted 20 more launches than half of last year's total. This year's launch count has already exceeded the number of Falcon 9 launches from all previous years up to 2022, and they are now aiming to surpass the launches made in the year 2023. With Starlink 9-1 mission launch from Vandenberg, SpaceX has equaled the number of launches made in the year 2022. Now, with today's launch of Starlink Group 9-3 mission, the bar graph depicts 69 Falcon 9 launches so far this year. And also worth mentioning that with this mission, it will be the 70th mission for SpaceX this year. Now, with these 69 Falcon 9 launches, with today's mission, which is 8 more than the launches made in 2022, They have already done more than half as many launches as they did all of last year, and it's only been 6 months and 11 days of this year. If they maintain this pace, they are on their way to achieve their ambitious goal of 148 launches by the end of this year. SpaceX is making really a strong effort to reach their significant commitments and objectives. Recently, we did witness the fourth integrated flight test of Starship on June 26th, which was quite a success for SpaceX. And right now, we are anticipating the fifth integrated flight test tentatively scheduled for early July, according to Elon's latest tweet. Now we have a request again for you guys. If you haven't already, consider giving this video a like. It really helps YouTube's algorithm to bring in more space fans and rocket enthusiasts. And if you are feeling we are adding value to your viewing experience, please consider subscribing to us. We would be super grateful for your support. Now please allow us a couple of seconds to check whether the launch is on time or not, and to stay updated. Be tuned in here and hang tight. We will be just right back in few seconds. So far it seems that they are sticking with their liftoff time targeted for 7:35 p.m. Pacific time, which will be 10:35 p.m. Eastern time, both on Thursday, that is July 11th, which corresponds to 2:35 a.m. UTC, that is on Friday, July 12th. So that's a good thing. They are not pushing the liftoff time, at least today. And mostly I observed that during the Vandenberg flights, they are really a little bit punctual, and the time they are mentioning about the liftoff time at the very time they are launching it. Now let's go ahead as we progress to the countdown and review the milestones that lie ahead for us on this Vandenberg flight. At T minus 38 minutes, countdown begins at this point when SpaceX launch director gives the go for the start of propellant load. If everything looks fine, prop load begins at T minus 30 minutes mark with the loading of rocket grade kerosene or RP1 on both the first and the second stages of the Falcon 9 rocket. At the same time, LOX load, that is super chilled liquid oxygen, is loaded on board the first stage. And then at T minus 16 minutes, which will be the next event we are looking for here, that's when the second stage liquid oxygen load begins. At T minus 7 minutes, that's when the chill down of 9 Merlin engines get underway. It involves flowing a small amount of liquid oxygen through the plumbing and turbo pumps, which helps protect the engines from the risk of thermal shock and damages during the startup sequence. At about 6 minutes before liftoff, the first stage kerosene tanks should be full. and in a T minus four and a half, the strong back retract sequence begins. The process begins with the clamp arms underneath the payload fairing opening up, followed by the transporter erector or the strong back reclining about a degree and a half from the Falcon 9. It remains in that position until liftoff. It's when it rapidly pulls back to clear the way for the Falcon 9's rocket vertical ascent. Now, just for a quick reference, the strong back reclining process at Vandenberg differs from that at Cape Canaveral and Kennedy Space Center. Here at Vandenberg, we recline the strong back 13 degrees away from the Falcon 9, whereas at Cape Canaveral and Kennedy Space Center, we recline the strong back about a degree and a half from the Falcon 9. The strong back positioned alongside the vehicle, also referred as the transporter erector, fulfills multiple functions. It supplies propellants, air conditioning, pressurization gases, and electrical power. Additionally, it transports the Falcon 9 to the launch pad and positions it for the launch. Here is an image on your screen showing how a strong back or transporter erector transport rockets. Although on your screen you are watching the Falcon Heavy on the move and being transported, but the process is the same for the Falcon 9 as well. Now at T minus 3 minutes mark, the first stage liquid oxygen loading should be complete, followed by the second stage liquid oxygen loading wrapping up at T minus 2 minutes mark. At that point, the Falcon 9 rocket is fully fueled with 1 million pounds of propellant. At T minus 1 minute mark, the propellant tanks are brought up to flight pressure, and in the final 60 seconds of countdown, the control of the flight system, that is launch sequence, is handed over from the ground sequencer to the Falcon 9's onboard flight computers. If everything looks good, at T minus 45 seconds mark, the launch director, to be precise, SpaceX launch director, will give the final go for Falcon 9 liftoff. Now at T minus 3 seconds, the engine ignition sequence start command being issued by the onboard engine controller. And finally at T0, we will have liftoff if all 9 Merlin 1D engines ignite and are healthy. Flight computers will give the command for the hold down clamps to release the Falcon 9. Currently targeting a liftoff time of the Falcon 9 from Vandenberg Space Force Base at 10:35 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:35 p.m. Pacific Time, both on Thursday, that is on July 11th, which corresponds to 2:35 a.m. UTC on Friday, that is July 12th. Let's go ahead and briefly step through the trajectory for today's Starlink mission. Falcon 9 leaving the pad from Space Launch Complex 4 East from Vandenberg Space Force Base with the spacecraft on board, the batch of 20 Starlink satellites, 13 with direct-to-cell capabilities Starlink satellites as well, for a southeast trajectory along the coast of Southern California, heading into a low Earth orbit, that is to the ninth shell of second generation Starlink mega constellation, indicated by that green line on your screen. The red line you can see indicates where Falcon 9 first stage will land after stage separation. This is going to be an off the land landing, a drone ship landing using autonomous spaceport drone ship named Of Course I Still Love You here on the west coast, which means that the first stage booster with tail number 1063 flying for the 19th time will be returning heading out to the drone ship. Estimated booster recovery is approximately 672 kilometers with estimated fairing recovery approximately 703 kilometers downrange, and the stage 2 debris re-entry will be in the East Pacific. Currently, there are 3 in SpaceX drone ship fleet. We anticipate the addition of a 4th drone ship, possibly occurring late this year or in early next year. Out of the 3, just read the instructions and a shortfall of Gravitas are based in Florida, and another, of course, I Still Love You, here at California. Now, speaking of the fairing recovery, the two halves of the payload fairing will be recovered slightly farther downrange from where the first stage lands on the drone ship. After they will smoothly splash down with the guidance of parachutes. SpaceX will utilize a recovery vessel to retrieve them from the Pacific waters. SpaceX manufactures the fairing in-house with the total cost of two halves is nearly $6 million. So it's of no surprise that SpaceX aims to recover the fairings for repetitive use, mirroring their approach with rocket boosters, upholding the motto of reusability and sustainability. You can see on your screen how a fairing recovery looks like. Although on your screen you are watching the recovery vessel Doug at the Atlantic, but today's supporting recovery vessel here at Pacific is Go Beyond. Also worth mentioning that the SpaceX named its two recovery new ships Bob and Doug after Bob Bacon and Doug Hurley, the two NASA astronauts and the first crew SpaceX launched for NASA under commercial crew program on the Demo 2 mission to the International Space Station back in 2020. And since then, Dragon has carried 49 people into orbit. Now here is a short video of the fairing separation and the MBAC ignition. You can see how the fairing half separates, exposing the payload on board the second stage to the space and MBAC engine ignition. We hope you enjoyed this short clip. Now let's have a quick look through the post-launch timeline for the Falcon 9 rocket passing these events following liftoff. We are just about 8 minutes from the webcast to begin, so let's make it fast. At t plus 1 minute and 7 seconds, Falcon 9 will pass through max Q, a point of greatest aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. Then there will be a couple of different events in rapid succession. First will be the first stage main engine cutoff, that is MECO, at t plus 2 minutes and 25 seconds, followed by a major milestone within 3 seconds at t plus 2 minutes and 28 seconds, where first and second stage will separate from each other. Just after 7 seconds later, second stage MVAC engine will ignite for the first time during today's flight, that is SES-1, at t plus 2 minutes and 35 seconds. Coming up next at t plus 3 minutes and 2 seconds mark, Falcon 9's payload fairings will be jettisoned, and at t plus 6 minutes and 1 second, the first stage re-entry burn will begin, lasting for 26 seconds up to 6 minutes and 27 seconds mark, ending the entry burn for the first stage. Next major milestone at t plus 7 minutes and 49 seconds, the first stage landing burn will commence, which will orient and set up the first stage for SpaceX iconic precision landing. At t plus 8 minutes and 12 seconds, the first stage will land on the drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You for Today, for the 96th time so far, marking SpaceX 329th overall landing. The second stage MVAC engine will shut down, that is SECO-1, and enter into a parking orbit at t plus 8 minutes and 39 seconds. T plus 52 minutes and 20 seconds, the second stage MVAC engine will reignite for a short 1 second burn, that is SES-2, and turning it off at t plus 52 minutes and 21 seconds, that is SECO-2, which will set up Starlink satellite deployment at approximately t plus 59 minutes and 14 seconds. Coming to some stats related to today's mission launch. The launch marks 365th SpaceX overall launch and the 49th dedicated launch of Starlink satellites for this year. This is going to be the 353rd Falcon 9 launch to date. 19th flight of this particular Falcon 9 booster supporting today's mission with tail number 1063. Today's mission marks 69th Falcon 9 launch of 2024 so far and is SpaceX 72nd overall launch of this year, including the third and fourth integrated flight test of Starship and one Falcon Heavy launch. We are expecting the next fifth integrated flight test probably on early August. This will be SpaceX 298th Falcon booster reflight to date, that is the launch of a booster that has flown at least once before. 83rd orbital launch for SpaceX, launching from Space Launch Complex 4 East. And 158th overall orbital launch from this pad, SpaceX Launch Complex 4 East at Vandenberg Space Force Base. With this mission success, SpaceX will have a remarkable 6,738 Starlink satellites launched to date. Now moving on to some reusability statistics. This launch marks 284th Falcon 9 booster reflight to date. This will be the 96th landing on, of course, I Still Love You drone ship. 19th landing of the first stage booster with tail number 1063. And with this mission's first stage landing, which leads the way to 258th overall drone ship landing, marking 310th Falcon 9 landing to date, and 329th SpaceX overall landing to date. Let's have a look into some key stats for SpaceX launches in this year, including today's mission. So SpaceX has a total of 72 launches with today's launch, and out of those 21 were non-Starlink missions for commercial and government organizations, and 2 Starship launches. The recent non-Starlink mission supported by Falcon 9 was the Turksat 6A NROL-186 mission, and previously the GOES-U mission supported by the 10th Falcon Heavy launch to date. SpaceX reused booster for 67 times in those missions, and including today's one as well, showing their commitment to sustainability and reusability. Now if we look into the geographical distribution, we get they have 47 launches from East Coast, with 13 from Launch Complex 39A, that is Kennedy Space Center, and 34 from Space Launch Complex 40, that is Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. On the West Coast, they have 23 launches, including today's one, all from Space Launch Complex 4 East, that is Vandenberg Space Force Base. And there was 2 launches from the Gulf Coast of Starbase back in Texas for the Starship 3rd and 4th integrated flight test. As for landings, they have nailed it 70 times. Most of them were on drone ship, with 55 successful landings, 19 on Of Course I Still Love You, including one from today, 15 on Just Read the Instructions, and 21 on A Shortfall of Gravitas. And for the ground landings, they have pulled off 15 times of them, 9 times on landing zone 1, 2 times on landing zone 2, and 4 times on landing zone 4 respectively. Prior to today's launch, the success rate for the land landings is 98.61%. For drone ship landing, it is 96.25%, and the overall landing success rate is 96.76%. I guess it's time for the webcast to begin. So let's move on to the webcast. Yes, the webcast has begun. Well, I had some more stats to share with you guys, but the webcast began and we ran out of time. Good morning, Fairmate. Thanks for joining in. Welcome back. And please never say sorry like that. It feels bad that when you are saying sorry like that. I know that it is a constant for you. That's why you couldn't make it to come. And you are always there with us, as I said you. No matter what, from the very beginning, you are always with us. So we can understand that it was late at your place, so you couldn't come. So please don't say like that.
Thanks for
Wow,
pressing for Stromback retrack.
it's a fog. It's such a foggy there. So right now you heard the call out that we are pressurizing the tanks for the strong back retraction, where we are adding a bit of gas to form up the tanks so that the clamp arms can open up with a solid structure holding the Falcon 9. And once the arms are open, we start reclining the strong back
Stromback retrack has started.
about 13 degrees away from the Falcon 9. We heard the call out that the process is now underway, and you can, although we can see the clamp arms around the stage 2 should be now coming to open. As it is so foggy there, we can see nothing at all. Anyways, the launch will be looking good with this fog around there. The clamp arms are opening up here underneath the payload fairing, and the transporter erector reclining at 13 degrees away from the vehicle. And right now we are less than 4 minutes away from liftoff. We are coming on T minus 3 minutes and a half. Everything continues to be go. We are currently chilling in the Merlin engines back from T minus 7 minutes. That's when we open the pre-valves, which allows the propellant down the engines to get them prepared for the ignition just before T0. You can see the strong back. We can't. Okay, but the strong back is now retracting away. It is quite a slow process. We have hydraulic actuators at the base of the strong back that will pull it away.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
Right on time, we got the call out for the stage 1 LOX load being complete. We are now waiting for the second stage that will finish up at just inside the T minus 2 minutes mark. Currently we are inside 2.5 minutes. The range continues to be green and the weather is supporting and cooperating with us today. Again, if for some reason we do not launch today, we do have a backup opportunity tomorrow, that is Friday, July 12th, with launch window opening at 6:13 p.m. Eastern Time. We will be listening in a couple of seconds for LOX load closeout on the second stage. Yes, Bob Rebecca, that I was going. The glow of the engine will look great with this fog around.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
Call out for stage 2 LOX load being complete. All propellants are now on board the Falcon 9 with 1 million pounds of propellant. We are now beginning to bend down the pressure that was in the tubing on the strong back. Although today we are not able to see those white clouds around the Falcon 9, and we did got the call out for the ground gas closeout. Next event T minus 1 minute mark, we should hear the call out that the Falcon 9 flight computers are in startup and controlling the rocket for the remainder of the countdown.
Falcon is in startup.
Right on time, Falcon 9 flight computers on stage 1 and stage 2 are running the rocket through the last minute of count. Now let's listen to the goal call out.
For launch.
SpaceX launch director giving go for the launch. We are coming up at T minus 30 seconds. All system continues to remain go for launch of Falcon 9 and Starlink.
T-minus 30 seconds.
T minus 30 seconds from liftoff. Technically we can see, but all is fog there.
T-minus 15 seconds.
Fog Tripika.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition. And lift off Falcon 9. Go SpaceX. Go forward.
So just see about this glow we were talking about.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
We have liftoff. Falcon 9 has cleared the tower with the magnificent glow around there at Vandenberg. T plus 28 seconds into the flight. Falcon 9 on its way with 20 Starlink satellites into low Earth orbit. Next up, we will be hearing a call out for vehicle being supersonic.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
Right now, we have exceeded Mach 1 on the Falcon 9. Now Falcon 9 is faster than the speed of sound as we have gone supersonic.
Max Q.
Max Q call out. We are through the period of maximum stress on the vehicle and we have throttled the Merlin engines back up to the full power. Next call out we should be hearing for the MVAC engine chill prior to its landing. Prior to its ignition. What I'm saying even.
MVAC chill has started.
Right now we have started the chill down of the MVAC engine on the second stage prior to its ignition just after stage separation. Coming up, 3 events in rapid succession: the shutdown of main engine on first stage, that is main engine cutoff, MECO, followed by the stage separation and ignition of the second stage MVAC engine, that is SES-1. That will boost the payload into the low Earth orbit. So let's hear the callouts. Landing condition Pop Typica, I guess there will be no more fog there. I guess so. I'm not sure about that. Let's see.
Main engine cutoff.
State separation confirmed.
MVAC ignition.
And there we have it, all those rapid succession events happening in rapid succession. The stage nitrogen thrusters is now beginning to reorient the first stage, and the flight computers has commanded the 4 hypersonic titanium grid fins to slowly begin deploying now that the stage separation is successful. Next up, we will be getting the call out for the fairing separation.
Fairing separation confirmed.
We got the call out that the fairing has successfully separated. We are looking right now a view of the first stage continues under the guidance of the grid fin and gravity as it descends back to Earth. The second stage, meanwhile, in the middle of its 6-minute burn, is on its way into the parking orbit. So far the launch has been great, giving us a magnificent orange glow with that launch in that foggy condition there at Vandenberg. The first stage has done its job so far and it's on its way back. The second stage is running at full power and we are getting today amazing views from both space and for the first stage booster as well. Now we are getting ready for the first stage to return to the droneship landing site. And it is worth mentioning that during this part of the flight, stage 1 relies completely on its grid fins for steering as it re-enters to Earth. These grid fins orient the Falcon 9 during the re-entry and guide the rocket during its descent. Right now we are viewing the second stage, but occasionally on the left side of your screen, and this black mark you are seeing, maybe it's some, I guess, those carbon or something burning shoots or like that something, so don't get bothered by that. So what I was saying, that on the left side of your screen you might be able to see nitrogen gas bursts from the first stage for the altitude control, and these are basically used to position the vehicle as it heads back towards the drone ship. Next up, at t plus 6 minutes and 1 second, we should be hearing a call out for stage 1 entry burn being started. Maybe it can be pop replica, it can be that loose wire which we saw from hanging from that first stage, it can be, but look, it has a little transparency in it also. You can see the titanium grid fins to that black mark there. No, I was
Entry burn startup.
sorry, that was only that one, let it be. So, and there's the confirmation, we have just lit 3 of Merlin 1D engines on the first stage. You can see now we are rapidly slowing down the vehicle as it enters the Earth's atmosphere, and this burn should last just around 26 seconds.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
And there we go, that's confirmation of shutdown of the entry burn on the first stage. Next up, we will be getting a call out for stage 1 being transonic. No, the Fairmint is not that string. I know you are joking, but it's not that string for the camera.
Stage 1 FTS is saved.
Stage 1 FTS has been saved call out. It means that stage 1 entry burn has been done as we previously saw. Next up, when we will be hearing the stage 2
FTS is saved.
this up, I was going to say, now when we heard that the stage 2 FTS has been saved, that means that it has gone through its orbital insertion burn. We did got the call out for stage 1 being transonic. Now we are traveling slower than the speed of sound as the first stage heads towards the landing. Now speaking of landing, we are just less than 60 seconds away from that.
Landing burn.
And there we go, great shots of that landing burn with that.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
Center E9 engine now lit. We are slowing down the vehicle
Stage
very
1
rapidly. Landing legs being deployed. And there we have it. We have successfully made the 310th landing of an orbital class Falcon 9 rocket. Coming up next, we will have the second stage engine cutoff, that is SECO 1, and following that event we will enter into nearly 45 minutes of coast phase as the vehicle ascends to the target orbit. And Pop Tripika, you were right, it was foggy a little there at the drone ship. And these were the call outs we were waiting for. Second stage engine cutoff, and well, we didn't got the confirmation for the good nominal orbit, but it is quite obvious that it got a good nominal orbit. And today's landing marks 329th overall landing for SpaceX. And with that, we will wrap up our coverage for now. And Pop Tripika, sorry, I saw your text previously that you didn't mind me that I couldn't answer you, but thanks for understanding. I will be making my research to go on that, and I will let you know. Just I didn't got some time and had to work for home things, as I said. And also thanks Fairmate for joining us, and Pop Tripika as well. Also would like to thank all of you who joined us today on today's live. Please be sure to check out our social media for upcoming launches. We want to thank all of you for joining us once again, and we hope you all enjoyed the weekend ahead. Hope you enjoyed the stream, and we are thankful that you showed your such patience, love, and understanding staying till the end. We are glad to have you all here with us. This is AstroYonder Live and me, Dipta, signing off for now, and we will see you next time.